any pair of tongs, the way that this thing works is that the closer you are to the rivet, the better, that's where the power of this tool is. There's no power out on the end of this. And if you are working with this and you have a gap between the material and that shoulder back here, you can squeeze these until the grains touch together and it will still move while you're working it. You put it out there like that, you can squeeze those together and you can still do this. And you're wondering why the thing won't stay, why you can't do anything. And the idea is it goes up against the shoulder. So it locks into that tong right there. It's better even on a 45, because now you can push into that shoulder. But you can, in the scheme of the work, 45s give you that power in that tool. And with all these tools, especially when you're going to come over here, you don't want to be squeezing anything. There's no grip in what you're doing. When you start having to squeeze things to control things, either it's not right or it's you. Loosen up. The minute that you start squeezing on this stuff, you're going to get hurt. Things are going to start failing. Your elbow is going to go. Your wrist is going to go. Whatever. So you have to work smart here. This thing, this guy, this is loose in your hand all the time. I'm talking about in 45s. The idea is to keep the inside of this clean. You don't want this sticking inside, because you can't get the shoe up against the horn when that tong is sticking inside. So if you can go 45, you can lock out everything. And you can follow exactly what you want on the horn. Where's your sweet spot? And you can lock it out so that it doesn't change. If you put that in there and you create a gap between that, where it's going to be struck, where it rests, and your tong, if you hit out here, it will bend here. Every time. It will bend halfway between your tong and where it's resting on the anvil. It's a law. If you build shoes, you go to turn that second branch, and you lay it here with a gap back here, and you hit there, it will bend over, and you'll end up with one branch straight and one branch in a nice round. You're wondering, well, how in the world did I do that? Anvil's wrong. It's a law. That's the way it works, especially when you have heat coming out of there. It's not concentrated. You have heat throughout the piece. Any gap will create a bend. So again, you want this tool. This is for 5/16. This is 5/16 tongs, 5/16 stock. I don't want those to touch, but I still want a comfortable distance in the tong. I personally do not like tongs that have very narrow reins together. It's too small for my hand. I like the tong to sit the same as my hammer sits. About the same gaps between the fingers and the palm. Yeah. I want it to be comfortable. I want to be able to manipulate this. You know how this works. This is management. This is labor. They don't get along for shit ever, but they need to work together here. So they both need to be comfortable. You know, labor is not going to go chasing this thing all over the place. It wants management to move things so that you're concentrating on a spot or something. If this isn't working, you can test it. Get yourself a bigger piece or a flatter piece, put it in there, and hold it up to the light as well. If you see gaps, through there, your tongs aren't set right. And that will cause that to move around on there as well. You want that to be flat and flat, and no daylight, right? Over a period of time, from heat, quench, back to heat, quench, back to heat, quench, movement, 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 that rivet's going to wear out. And that's part of the game. That's what it's there for. A good pair of tongs, the material that the tong's made out of should be tougher than the rivet, right? The tong should have whatever, 40 or 1075 or 4140, 5160, something. They should be made out of something with a little carbon, a little something in them, so that they have a spring tendency in the rain. So that when you do squeeze on something, even though I can squeeze and touch, they come back. If it's mild steel, sometimes that won't happen. I'll just squeeze together and stay there. So the other point is that I have the two pieces. I'd rather have the rivet wear out than the tong piece itself. If the tong piece starts to wear out, then I can never get a really true movement in that rivet anymore. You'll be able to tell. You grab a hold of that rivet and you can try to turn it in the piece. It'll spin completely around inside the tong. It's starting to get wore out. Eventually, once it can spin all the way around, as each grain moves back and forth, it creates its own wear place. And you end up with two different cam shapes inside on the rivet. And eventually that'll work itself into different positions where your tongs will stick. And they'll stick in something, either they're out here, or so you crack the rain and, oh, they're all better. You know, dip them in the water bucket again and you say, oh, that's all good now. Oh, and then all of a sudden, so when it reaches that point, it can spin around in there and it can be good, but when it starts to lock, you cannot fix that. And it's time to change your rivet. Knock it out of there, put another one in.